Hello. I feel like I'm in the jungle. It's super tropical right here. I'm at Blackburn Point Park. I come to Blackburn Point pretty often, but I never realized that this park was here, and it's like right down the street from the area that I usually go to, so I'm pretty excited about it. And it's nice because I'm at a little picnic table area, so my phone's not gonna overheat. Hey Laura, how you doing today? It is getting super heated up down here in Florida. Holy guacamole. I am on the west coast and a little south of Sarasota, a little area called Osprey. Super beautiful, super hot. Although there is a bit of a breeze coming through right now that is very tropical. Hello Linda, how are you? I am trying to keep cool in the heat. It's okay. I love the heat. I love Florida. I love the summertime. Hi, Annie. How's everybody doing? So I was thinking I would take you on a little bit of a hike, if I can stand it, if it doesn't get too flippin' hot. Oh my gosh, at 10:20 it was 94 degrees. Yeah, that's pretty hot. I've got my my white hat on, so because I'm a white hat. All right. Well, I always take care of myself, Annie. Don't worry. And my father, who are in heaven, he takes good care of me too. Texas isn't too bad. They had some. Oh, I heard about the thunderstorms, Linda. Actually, my friend the Allens said they had it really bad at their place last night. I'm gonna turn the camera around and I'm gonna take y'all on a little bit of a hike. Let's just see what we can see. Maybe go find some water feature. Maybe check on Todd. Yeah, it is a good day to be at the beach, that's for sure. But I'm not exactly at the, well, I am very close to the beach. I'm like kind of in a mangrove area. Well, mangrove. It's, I mean, clearly there's no water right here. Hey, Kayla. Dogs always do show up in the beach report, but my little dog passed away. So I go solo on my hikes now. And it breaks my heart. I know, thank you. I appreciate you asking. I miss her like crazy. It's like the worst pain I've ever felt. Well, we're hiking, Kayla. It's so gorgeous out here. Thank you, Kayla. I don't know if I'll ever feel better about losing Muffin. I don't really know what I can do about that. There's no way to replace her. She was one of a kind. Maybe someday I will have the honor of caring for another dog, but until then I will dog sit. Lots of doggies need me. So now I gotta spread my love around and not just be for one dog anymore. Although I always did that. Muffin and I both. We dog sitted together. Dog sat? I don't know. Yes, thank you, Assad. Beautiful location. This is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Yeah. You have to count your blessings. If you think about things that you're sad about or things that you lost, it doesn't really help. Instead, you have to think about, what you're grateful for that you got from those experiences. I think about Muffin and I think about all the people who loved her so much, just like I did. And that's what I have to hold on to. Oh, look at this. Look at this. This is gonna be fun. Wow. Location here. It's a little windy. It's really beautiful. Annie kicks butt at the gym. Annie, you're a warrior. You're special in all the good ways. Look at that. Look how clear that water is. You can see right down into it. Swimming is such good exercise. I actually had a little swim myself this afternoon and it felt amazing. So if you're wondering, there are not normally gators here, but there could be. There absolutely could be. It's not common though. But you never know. Hi, Janet. So I was hoping to get a bunch of people on so we could talk about memoir writing. Something that I think Annie should consider. Annie, you would definitely write such a great book that would be so inspirational about your life and what you've gone through in ways that things could be easier for people like you in the future. Annie says, don't mess with me. I'm the wrong person to mess around with. All right, we're gonna get back on our little hike. So there are a lot of things to consider when you write your memoir. And the reason that I want to talk about this today in particular was because in my book, I worked at a mall. And, well, my character worked, it was me. But anyway, my character worked in a mall. Well, the man that I worked with his nephew at the mall during the summers. And the nephew, became a friend, good friend. And actually has a very prominent role in my book as a very good friend. During a time when I really needed a good friend, and he was there. And anyway, I've, kept in touch with him over the years, but, we don't live in the same part of the country. And anyway, he contacted me yesterday. He sent me a picture of the site where the mall used to be. The mall has been demolished. Demolished. Hi, Brooklyn. So at that point, I'm like, hey, by the way, I wrote my book. And he's like, oh, I always knew you would do that. And I was like, yeah, you're in it. Which, he knew to expect that too. And he was super stoked. How do I get a copy? You guys send me a signed copy. Okay. So I put it in the mail today. And I am really excited for him to read it. He's like one of the big characters in my book who didn't know the book was done. Pretty much everyone in my life knows that I was writing this book. I made no secret of that. But he's going to read it. He's going to probably get it on Monday. So it's going to be super interesting to see what he thinks. Annie, you really should be an ambassador for the YMCA, people with special needs. You know, they're not wrong. When people tell you on and on, hey, you should write a book, or you know, you've got a really interesting story there, want to know more. When you hear that consistently in your life, you should listen. People want to be inspired. They want to hear success stories, and Annie's, yours is amazing. You know, your life, and you are also a very great voice for the unborn. For people, you know, they get this diagnosis of their baby before they're born and they think, oh no. And Annie, you can like come out and let them know like that could be the greatest thing that could ever happen to you, is to have a child like you and your brother. I actually kind of think that you, not that you owe it to the world, but you kind of owe it to the world. I'm just saying it would be really a sad thing if your voice was not out there, you know, as somebody who's persevered despite all odds. People love stories like that. You know, it makes them think, hey, if she can do it, I can do it. Yeah. I know you, and you know what? That's the other thing. You do Jesus's work when you give your testimony. Testimonial. What's the right word? Testimonial. Anyway, you got to shout that one from the rooftops, and you know it to be true. So I wish you would consider it. I will help you any way I can. Look at the manatee. Look what the Lord just sent for us to see. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh, look how beautiful. He's diving deep down. Looks like he's got a bad slash on his back. That's a problem for manatees, is that they do often get hurt. You see the little school of fish too? Oh, this is so exciting. Finally, we get to see an actual critter. Come on up. I know they have to breathe. I don't know how long they can stay under. Don't go away. Please come back. Oh, good. Look, he's coming up. Oh my gosh. Hi, baby. Hi. Oh, she's so great. This is so exciting. Don't go away. Come back. Come back. That's a big manatee too. They call that a sea cow. Come on up. And look at the pretty little school of fish shimmering in the sun. Wow, I'm so glad I came to this area. God was like, hey Joel, go there today. I'm like, okay. Look how adorable. Oops. Let's do it with the camera. Come on. Get that sea cow. Come on up for air. Show us your little face. Here he comes. Yay! Hi! Oh my gosh, this is so awesome. They were mistaken as mermaids. I can see why. Definitely Ray sent me here. Now, I just hope those people in their boats realize that this big mama's over here. I will alert them if I have to. Can you guys still see her? I think they're bringing their boat in. They're not leaving there. I mean, they're not going in the water. Oh, where'd she go? Wow, that was so special. That was a really, really great moment on the beach report. Yep, I guess she went over there. So, oh no, there she is. There she is. Yay! Wonder what she's doing. Yeah, I'm trying to follow. Be careful, there's a manatee over here. Yeah, they don't care. Be careful of our manatee. Don't just run her over. Where's the manatee? Let's make sure she's okay. They did not care. They did not even care. What's up with that? Yes, and that's right, Annie, about the wildlife. All of the wildlife that you see on the beach report is in its natural habitat. Okay, maybe not all. Every now and then I might find something in captivity. But in general, I like to show you guys the wildlife in the wild, doing wildlife things as wildlife like to do. Well, she just did a deep dive when that boat came through, so I don't know if we're gonna see her again. But wow, that was so special. It is amazing that we share the planet with these creatures. Anyway, on the beach report, when we spot wildlife, we don't feed them. We don't play with them. We don't touch them. We don't kiss them. We don't have anything to do with them except for watching them in their natural habitat, being themselves. Let's see if there's any more over here. I think oftentimes those guys hang out in groups. I don't know, packs? Not sure what that's called. You can see little schools of little tiny fish. All right, we're still on our hike. Yes, we're on a crazy adventure. You know it, Annie. You know that when you see the beach report is on, that it's gonna be something beautiful and maybe something weird and maybe something interesting and maybe something wild, and if anything, it's gonna be something beautiful. Now, when I come to Blackburn Point, this is usually where I hang out. You can see the water over here. These are the mangroves. Blending land and sea, mangroves form an interesting environment along our coastline. These hardy tropical plants are among the few trees that thrive in salt water. Once considered useless, mangroves are now highly valued. Their roots help stabilize the shoreline, and they also filter pollutants. A variety of wildlife find food and shelter in the mangrove forests. Graceful, long-legged wading birds build nests in treetop branches. These are the different kinds of fish you'll find in this area. Gray blue heron, gray snapper, snook, tarpon, red mangrove. That's what that's called. It's a red mangrove. This is the mangrove food chain. Mangrove leaves fall year-round and quickly decompose, providing food for many small organisms below. Larger predators, including fish and shellfish, feast on the small creatures. The fish, in turn, provide dinner for animals such as wading birds, osprey, and people. There are 3 different types of mangroves. Hey, Darla. There's the red mangrove, like the red, the black, and the white. And they're not racist at all. You do realize that when anybody starts talking about racism, it's just a way to control people and divide them. We really should stop putting up with these words like racist and Nazi and all that crap. You know, I think the world would be a much better place if we accepted that every single one of us is actually different. We are not the same. I am not the same as you, and you are not the same as her, and he's a lot different than both of us. I mean, I know there's some people you really connect with and you think, yeah, we are very similar. Maybe there are some people even you look like them, but you're not the same. Everybody's a unique individual. And it's so important for us to embrace those differences, not differences of our colors or our race or our language or really anything. The difference is that we are all different, every single one of us, created in his image, given special gifts by our Father God. Wow, it's pretty windy over here. Getting kind of wild. I wanted to go on a kayaking tour, but it might be a little dangerous with this kind of wind. Here, we're gonna go back to the area we came from. Very around here. Groves. Do you know me? I like the palm trees the best. All right, anyway. Does anybody want to talk about writing your memoir? Does anybody have any questions for me about that? Look at this. Look at all these little fish. Can you see the little fish? Getting ready to storm in Fort Pierce. Well, our rainy season is coming in hot and heavy, and that's a good thing. To every season, turn, turn, turn. There is a reason, turn, turn, turn. And a time to every purpose unto heaven. That's just really beautiful. All right, we'll go back on the other path. So I have to start thinking about marketing my books. The reason I wanted to talk about it was because, you know, this guy that's in the book is reading the book. Well, he'll be reading the book when he gets it on Monday. And I can't wait to hear what he thinks about it. But it really brings home the notion that I wrote this book, and it's, you know, it's about people who are real, even though the names are changed. And how many of you are in a book? You know, what would you think if somebody says, hey, I wrote a book and you're in it? And I guess depending on the relationship you have with that person, that could be good or it could be downright scary. When I was writing my book, I did make every effort to consider the other people in the book, and also to consider the fact that the things I was writing about have happened or had happened back in the 80s. And that's like 100 years ago. Okay, maybe not 100, but you know what I mean. It does seem like another era, a place in time that just doesn't even exist anymore. You know, everything has changed since the 80s. And here we are living in this dystopian world when back in the 80s, I thought everything was going to get better. Boy, was I wrong. Wonder where our manatee is. So I'm trying to come to grips with the fact that, you know, people are going to read this book, and some of them might not be too happy with it, but I certainly didn't defame anybody or say anything that was blatantly untrue at all. Because, you know, that's the thing about me. I value the truth like I value nothing else. I value my own credibility I treat it like it's gold. Because it's really the only thing I have of value to me. Because, you know, I'm gonna leave this world someday. And I can't take any of this stuff with me. This hat will have to stay. These clothes will have to be here. But I always say my only goal is to get up and meet my maker and have him tell me, well done, good and faithful servant. Okay, so I'm back in this lovely little area. Look, I love how I've got a little canopy of trees and it's nice and shady here. And there's also a beautiful little breeze. So why don't we just take a moment to relax. Thank you, Darla. You'd love to be in someone's book. Well, you're kind of in mine. I mean, truly, you are one of my review girls, so that's pretty cool, right? You know, just to have your name in somebody else's book. I've had that honor many, many times, even before I wrote my own first book. Like it was yesterday, a journalist file since 9/11. But prior to that, you know, I've always been a teacher and an editor, and I've edited probably about a dozen big books in my time. And I've also taught memoir writing classes, and everybody who ever published a book from my classes, and almost all of them did, they always sent me the book and they always credited me in the book. So I do have a bunch of books with my name in them, which is really cool. Of course you did, Darla. Hi, Shelley. Yeah, Shelley, you're another one who needs to write a book. Yeah, considerations when you're writing about your own life story. You have to understand that it's your story. And you have every right to tell it as you see fit. And if your story is one in which you were done wrong, I mean, I was done wrong. I was stalked by my biological father. Can you even with that noise? Who does that? Hey, Brooklyn. Brooklyn's back. All right, stay for like an hour. I don't know if I can stand an hour in this heat, but I'm here. I'm glad you're here, Brooklyn. We're talking about publishing your memoirs, your life story, and how it is my belief that if you've got a story to tell, and pretty much everybody does. I mean, unless you have been living your life under a rock, and even that's an interesting story, because who does that, you know? There's always something to write about in your life. Maybe your whole life wasn't super exciting, but I'll bet you something happened in your life that, you know, would be cool to write about. Something that other people would get inspiration from. Oh, thank you, Brooklyn. You're the best. But seriously, you guys, don't let anybody tell you don't write your life story, especially if you do have maybe a traumatic story, like you were abused as a child, and you overcame great difficulties. Sorry, it's so hot. I'm dying over here. Hi, Jeff. You have to understand that other people have gone through the same things you have. I know I said that we are all different, but we also have some very similar, if not identical, experiences as we go through life. And sometimes it really helps to hear how someone else handled with the same situation that you might be going through now. You know, there's a lot of different things you can talk about, everything from, and I'll give you 5 topics off the top of my head, and these are things that I myself have written about. Of course, my book that I have just finished, that I'm that I just published right now, my memoir, Do You Think About Me on My Birthday, is about my experience being adopted. And, you know, it's something to me is so normal. I was adopted my whole life, but most people don't really understand what it's like to have different parents than the ones that the Lord gave you, you know, to be raised by people who don't even know where you came from. That is crazy. And in my circumstance, then be stalked by this stranger who turns out to be pretty wild, let's just say that. So there we go. There's a great topic. You got something going on in your life, it's a little bit different than other people. Maybe you're not adopted, but you adopted children, or you know, maybe you're not adopted, but your brother was, and that was a weirdness, or you're a stepchild, or whatever. You grow up in a situation. You can always write about those childhood traumas. They're never ending. Okay, so let's say that's one topic, adoption. Okay, childhood trauma, we'll just lump it all in. Okay, here's another topic. Did you grow up super poor? Did you grow up super rich? You know, most people have a kind of in-between sort of life. Darla floated out to sea one day. It's not a bad idea for a book, you know. You could go off on a lot of crazy tangents with that one. And you could even change that up if you wanted to make it, you know, a different story, you know, if you wanted to go into fiction and start with that as the seed. Like, so something happened to you. For instance, Darla was on a raft, lazing about in the ocean, thinking everything was hunky-dory, falls asleep, wakes up, what, 5 miles offshore? Anything can happen. So something crazy happened to you. There's another topic. And like I was saying before, okay, did you grow up rich? Did you grow up poor? You know, both of those situations, anything extreme in your life. If you grew up, you know, eating dirt sandwiches, that's another one. And maybe, you know, that goes on with childhood trauma. But sometimes the people who grow up poor are the people who become very wealthy. So did you overcome something like bad poverty, or you know, your parents were drug addicts or something like that? Even if you thought that your story was awful. I mean, I have been working with a guy, and man, it is hard to read the things he's written about his life, where his parents were incredibly neglectful, if not abusive. But like the first movie this I ever saw, or as a kid, he was 5 years old, the first movie I ever saw was like Debbie Does Dallas. No kidding, no kidding. That's what his parents watched on television or whatever, you know, on the big screen, and that's what this child was exposed to. You know, what's that like? He grew up with drug addicts, his parents, and you know, a lot of, you know, schmexual things going on. That's a story. That's a story. Another idea too is, you know, if there's something that you learned over the years that maybe nobody else knows, like the art of public speaking, or President Trump's art of the deal. He's a deal maker. He's the best at it. You know, do you have a niche that you have conquered? Write a book about that. Is that 4? Is that 5? Do you need another one? Let me think. Oh, how about you're going through a situation where you're a caregiver and you've learned some hacks to get through it all, because I've been a caregiver more than once, and it is really difficult. And you know, people who are caregiving for parents with Alzheimer's, it is heartbreaking and very, very sad to go through, and everybody needs a little help me out here with that kind of situation. So maybe, you know, you could write a book that's a little comical about being a caregiver for somebody with Alzheimer's. Just saying, they do some wacky things. And you can put any spin on it that you want, you know, just that fact alone. You know, you could write a book for caregivers that would be helpful to them in giving them hints, or you could write a book for caregivers that would be helpful for them in making them see the humor in the situation that is so sad and so tragic. Sometimes you have to pull out a different level of emotion from a situation that, you know, is really tough to bear. Like, one of my cousins wrote a book about having cancer in her 20s. And a lot of people resonated with that, because a lot of people do get cancer in their 20s today more than ever, because we are now experiencing the debilitating and long-term effects of being poisoned by big companies who have substituted real food for fake chemicals, saving themselves money maybe, but destroying American society in so many ways in the end. That's what my next book is about. Yeah, the book, Do You Think About Me on My Birthday? Wait, I have it right here. Look at this, look at this, here it is. It took me 40 years to write this, and it's not gonna take 40 years to write the next one, because the next one is a sequel. This is part 1, and then we're gonna have part 2, maybe, well, definitely part 3, and possibly part 4. A lot of information going on, and I can't possibly, I mean, look, this is more than 350 pages, so it's a lot, but it is a fast, easy read. Anyone on here who has read it will tell you it's a lot of fun. It is like going on a time machine into the 80s. So thank you, Darla. I'm still, though, if you want to buy it, you have to reach out to me personally, because I'm not really selling it to the masses. I'm very, very protective of my book. I mean, this is my life, you know, this is my baby, so I'm super serious about it. There's like my book about 9/11, the way that 9/11 changed our society, also has a bit of memoir to it, because I wrote it because my brother was a survivor of 9/11, and I started that book the minute that, well, I started that book in the evening, you know, after a long, hard day of, you remember, well, maybe not all of you, but I don't think you were alive yet, Brooklyn. Anyway, people went through a lot on that day, and I certainly did. So anyway, I wrote a book about it because it affected me that much. And that's a history book. You can write a history book. It doesn't have to be a memoir. It can really be anything. I hope that my words inspire you to be creative, because when you write a book, you know, no matter what your book's about, you're leaving a legacy of yourself. Oh, thank you. Darla says you feel like you're actually there and living in the 80s, which I would love to know what that's like for people who didn't live through the 80s. Did you get a good sense of it? I don't know. I'm just so excited for when people read it to tell me what they think of it, because it's very important to me, and all the books that I write are very important. But like I was saying about my 9/11 book, it's a little bit different. It has half of it is a diary memoir, and the other half of it is a smattering of articles that I wrote after 9/11, and the way to illustrate how people were being affected by that event in the 15 years, throughout the 15 years after 9/11. It just seemed really important to me, you know. It's like I realized that kids were not learning about 9/11 in a lot of schools, and they were just ignoring it, and people were like, I don't even know what that was. We know now it's a lot. It's a lot, and it's still a situation. It's still a mystery to all of us, and I hope the mystery comes out. But my book is not about the mystery. My book is about the aftermath. It's about that day and 15 years after that. So anyway, you can write a book for a lot of different reasons, but I think that almost all of us have a book in us. It's so hard, though, to write. You know, some people just freeze at the thought of writing. Just like I freeze at the thought of having to do math. It's the same. I feel like you're either blessed with the math ability or the word ability. I was blessed with the words ability. So, and thank you. Thank you, Lord. What a great blessing it's been. I hope that I have inspired you. If you have any questions, put them in the comment section below. And if you have not liked and subscribed, please do that. I cannot do this without you. I need all the help I can get. Trying to build my channel here, but it's a lot of fun. You know, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. And that's been very true for me. All right, you guys. Well, I got to get back to work. I'm still working on my cover. I'm revamping it. I did send my book into a contest for memoir writing, so hopefully I haven't heard anything. I did not put my book in the Miami Book Fair. I missed the deadline, so it was not meant to be this year, but maybe next year. Hi, Victoria. But anyway, it's not the easiest thing you'll ever do, but you'll never be sorry that you did it. And it's quite an accomplishment. So, all right, you guys, it is so hot. I gotta go. I can't take it anymore. Sorry, Brooklyn, it can't take an hour. You see 41 minutes and 24 seconds and dying over here. At least I'm not like, you know, cascading sweat, but I'm not dancing either, so there's that. All right, you guys, TMI, right? Yeah, Jill's having heat stroke and she's rambling. Hey, let's walk back to the other area so that you guys can continue the hike, because I didn't finish my hike yet. And you guys didn't say if you had any questions or anything. You've been pretty quiet today. Let me know. Questions, concerns. 62 and the wind is blowing. Okay, that sounds like not good. Hey, Janet. Yeah, I don't want to be chilly Jilly. No, it is super hot here. Like if we could just have a happy medium, that'd be fantastic. It's a beautiful day though. So I am just south of Sarasota in a little town called Osprey. And this area is called Blackburn Point. And for those of you who are just coming on, you're gonna have to watch the replay because we were treated to a manatee sighting that was just amazing. Hi, baby, hi, hi. Okay, hi. Yes, they all have to say hello to me. You know how it is, I'm a dog magnet. Apparently I'm a cat magnet too. My sister's cats were like treating me like, oh my gosh, and I forgot my bag. I'm a mess. Get back there, Joel. What are you doing? Crazy biatch. All right, we're going back on our hike. Since, like I said, I'm apparently having a bit of heat stroke. Hey, Maria. What's the weather like in Croatia? I know, I can't forget my stuff. It's not cool. I got a lot of stuff in there too. There it is. At least it's not a busy area where I really had to be scared or anything that people would steal my stuff. Oh, Shelly, I love the heat. I like it hot. It's better hot than cold. Just gonna say. I mean, it's nice that when it gets cold a little bit here in Florida, you know, we need a break from the heat sometimes. But every time we get that break, I'm like, I'm cold. Turn the heat back on. You also get very thin-skinned when you live in Florida. And I'm coming from up north. I was living in Pittsburgh before I moved here. And it didn't take me long at all to become very acclimated to the heat and just never ever want to be cold again. As God is my witness, I'll never be cold again. Look at these old trees. Look how beautiful it is here. So let's not forget this place went through a devastating hurricane last year. Around this time, hurricane season is about to start up again. So fingers crossed that we don't see the same kind of crazy weather patterns we saw last year. That was insane. And it looks like Blackburn Point did pretty well, but you can tell that a lot of these trees here were damaged and there was severe flooding in this area. It did go through the eye of the storm of Hurricane Milton. It was really bad, but you know, you look, you see this tree's probably been here for 100 years. Maybe, I don't know. And these scrubby Florida pines, they did okay. Home to the birds. So it's good to see that this area did not get damaged. We've got a little tree down over there. It could have happened at any time. There were 3 different hurricanes that went through here last year. But everything seems to be a-okay. Oh, before I end this show, look, I told Brooklyn I was leaving, and here I still am. I do that to you sometimes, don't I? Look, there's a path over here I do want to check out. Check for lizards in your bag. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. I know it's a pretty tall bag. But you never know, lizards, they can jump and do all sorts of things. So I see a lot of gopher tortoises there. They dig burrows on land 8 to 12 feet deep. And you never know when you're going to see one of them in your path. I see them on the highway not the highway, but you know, the street all the time. Look at this place. It's really tropical. It really feels like jungle. Jungle love. Remember that song? What was that? Jungle love. Was that a Prince song? Dang, I miss Prince. I really miss Prince. I know a lot of stuff is coming out of the Diddy trial. I think we are going to learn a lot. Lately, the latest name that's starting to be of interest is Britney Spears. And it is very interesting to note that she was attached to Diddy at the Video Music Awards, like way back in 2008, when she had public and private meltdowns, like all the time. All right, looks like the trail ends here. It's never a good idea to walk through a jungle area in flip-flops, so I'm not going to do that. But anyway, a lot of stuff coming out of that Diddy trial is super interesting. And I think we're going to start to understand a lot more about the elites and the way that they've been lying to us the more that comes out. Yeah. Ellen, the Oprah. I wouldn't be surprised if Epstein doesn't tie in too, in some way. All right, you guys. Yeah, Wendy, exactly. Yes, they sold their souls. They did. It's a sad thing. Justin Bieber, Usher, poor Usher. And they were just children. It is really horrific, but, you know, we were supposed to not believe all those Pizzagate rumors and stuff like that. And, you know, if they're going to lie about, they lie about everything. Let's just put it that way. So all that stuff is true. And if you never got involved in it, good for you. Those who are, I think are going to have to pay a very hefty price. They'll be writing books too. Look at that Jake Tapper writing his book. Oh my gosh, acting like he wasn't part of the big cover-up. Literally acting like he didn't know. He didn't know. Yeah, right. Believe this. Oh my gosh. Pull this leg. It'll play Jingle Bells. I'm so sure. Allie Carter, is she still missing? Oh, I love Allie Carter. I don't know, but let's look for her. The Kardashians are all mad. Oh boy, it's crazy cakes. Have you seen Kanye West walking around with his well-endowed wife? What is up with that? Those people look like puppets. They don't even look real. I don't know. I gotta say though, I'm real. The Beach Report is a reality show that's actually about reality. There's no other show like it on the universe. So I hope that you're enjoying it. And if you feel so moved, you can always send me a super chat. Help me out here. But I don't care what y'all do. I am going to buy myself a park pass because, you know what? National parks and Florida state parks, they're pretty cool. We need to visit them. So if you want to help me pay for that, I'd appreciate it. But I'm going to do it anyway. All right, you guys, I got to go work on my book, work on other people's books. I've got so much work to do. But anyway, I always have to take a break to be outdoors in the nature. And I was really rewarded today seeing that manatee. So check that out. It's earlier in the show. Yeah, don't be lost, Laura. I'm here. You just call out my name. And you know wherever I am, I'll come running. Yeah, baby, to see you again. Oh, baby, don't you know about winter, spring, summer, or fall? All you gotta do is call, and I'll be there. Yes, I will. You got a friend. Shelly knows. All right, you guys. Have a wonderful rest of your day. And I may or may not come back on another issue of another episode of the Beach Report. But ciao for now.